Dad, perfect revents. Hide in the fitting room, Dorothy Stevens whispered, grabbing my arm at the bridal shop. You need to hear this. 3 weeks before my daughter's wedding, I thought I was there to finalize details. Instead, I discovered my own son was planning to destroy me. My name is Vince Morrison, 57 years old, and I built a tech company from nothing after my wife Patricia died 2 years ago. What I heard through that fitting room wall changed everything I thought I knew about family. Looking back, I should have seen the signs earlier. Tony had always been different from Rachel. Where she was warm and caring like her mother, Tony had this calculating edge that I'd mistaken for business sense. I'd been proud when he showed interest in the family company, thinking he'd inherited my entrepreneurial spirit. Patricia used to worry about his selfishness, but I figured he'd grow out of it. Boys mature slower, I told myself. After Patricia's funeral, Tony became more attentive, more helpful, more interested. In the business finances, I thought grief was bringing us closer together. What a fool I was. Through the thin barrier of that fitting room wall, I listened to my son Tony, 29, laugh about putting me in a nursing home. My daughter Rachel said nothing to stop him. Every word cut deeper than the last, but I forced myself to stay quiet and listen. This isn't a real wedding, Rachel. Remember that. Tony's voice was cold, calculating. My heart stopped. Not a real wedding. Everything I'd imagined, every father-daughter moment I'd anticipated, was an elaborate lie. A woman's voice joined them. Nancy Wright, supposedly Rachel's wedding planner. Sorry I'm late, traffic was terrible. Tony sounded relieved. Good. Let's review the timeline one more time. Rachel's voice carried anxiety. What if someone hears us? Tony laughed dismissively. Relax. Dorothy's at the front desk. Who else would be here? I was one wall away, separated by mere inches of plaster and betrayal. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd taught Tony to be thorough in business, to check for problems before making deals. Now he was using that same methodical approach to rob me blind. Nancy's voice shifted to business mode. 3 weeks from today, Rachel marries Kevin Foster, Tony added casually, real name Kevin Mitchell, actor from Miami. $25,000 cash. Rachel asked uncertainly. But the marriage license is real, right? Nancy confirmed. Yes, legally binding, but we file for annulment after 6 months. Tony explained like discussing a merger, simple purpose. A married daughter gains access to the family trust funds. My mind reeled. Kevin Foster, the man I'd welcomed into my home, taught to play poker, shared beers with during football games, an actor, a hired performer in this theater of deception. I remembered how impressed I'd been with his questions about the business, his interest in my stories about building the company. All research for his role. Tony continued laying out their scheme. The day after the wedding, Rachel activates the power of attorney. Nancy responded efficiently. I have the paperwork ready, completely legal. Tony's voice took on a greedy edge. We transfer funds to offshore accounts. We're talking $850,000, sweetheart. Rachel hesitated. Won't Dad notice right away? Tony's laugh was cruel. By the time the old man figures it out, it'll be too late. Nancy added, the money moves through shell companies, untraceable, $850,000. Not everything I had, but close to it. The number represented 30 years of 12-hour days, missed family dinners, weekend work sessions. All those times Patricia asked me to slow down, to spend more time with the kids, and I'd said I was building their future. This is what my sacrifice had bought me. Children who saw me as an obstacle to wealth they hadn't earned. Rachel's voice wavered. Do we really have to put Dad in a nursing home? Tony's response was, ice. Yes, he'll notice the money. We need him out of the way, Nancy explained methodically. Dr. Stevens will. Evaluate him, declare him mentally incompetent, Tony added. Cognitive decline from stress. Very believable. Rachel's voice broke. But he's my father. Tony snapped back harshly. He's a rich old man, and we're not. Get over it. The casual cruelty in his voice hit me like a physical blow. This was my son, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, helped with math homework, cheered for at Little League games. I remembered staying up all night when he had pneumonia at age 8, Patricia and I taking turns holding him. Where had that little boy gone? Tears streamed down my face in the darkness. This was the child I'd worked so hard to provide for, the son I'd hoped would take over the business someday. And my daughter, My little girl, who used to fall asleep on my lap during movie nights, was helping him plan my destruction. Tony continued, animated with excitement. 6 months later, we annul Rachel's marriage. Nancy added, offshore accounts are already set up. We liquidate the remaining assets. Tony laughed again. Then we disappear. New identities if necessary, Rachel asked quietly. What about Dad? Tony's response chilled me to the bone. What about him? He'll be at Golden Meadows for the rest of his life. I pressed my palm over my mouth to stifle any sound. My whole body shook. The recording device Dorothy had hidden continued its silent work, capturing every damning word. Tony's voice turned smug. You know what the best part is? He's completely blind to it. He trusts me. He trusts you. In 3 weeks, Vince Morrison will have nothing and will finally have everything we deserve. Deserve. The word echoed in my head. I'd given Tony every advantage: private school, college tuition, a job in my company, a BMW for his 25th birthday. What exactly did he think he deserved that he hadn't already received? Dorothy unlocked my door 15 minutes after they left. I collapsed into her arms and sobbed like I hadn't since Patricia's funeral. She guided me to her office, her grip firm despite my weight against her. I'm so sorry you had to hear that, she said, pressing tissues into my hand. But you needed to know the truth. She handed me a USB drive. I recorded everything. 47 minutes total. This is yours. Legal evidence. I stared at the tiny piece of plastic that contained the complete annihilation of my family. How did you know to record them? Dorothy sat across from me, her expression grim. This isn't the first time I've seen this kind of setup. Young person brings in an older relative to help with wedding details, then has private conversations they think nobody can hear. The fitting rooms share ventilation. Sound carries. She pulled up another recording from 3 days earlier on her computer. Tony's voice emerged, cold and matter-of-fact. The car accident 6 months ago should have worked. Rachel sounded shocked. What car accident? Tony answered without hesitation. I cut the old man's brake lines. He got lucky. My hands went numb. 6 months ago, my brakes had failed on the mountain road coming back from a client meeting. I'd barely managed to steer into a guardrail instead of going over the cliff. The mechanic said the lines looked corroded, possibly from road salt. I'd been grateful for what seemed like a lucky break. Tony had tried to murder me. Dorothy paused the recording, watching my reaction carefully. There's more, much more. She fast-forwarded to another conversation, a woman's voice I didn't recognize. What about the Boston situation? Tony replied dismissively. Margaret Taylor? Don't worry about her. Rachel interrupted. Who's Margaret Taylor? Tony explained casually. Just a woman I knew in Boston. She went to the police, but there was no proof. The scope was staggering. My son wasn't just stealing from family. He was a serial predator with multiple victims across different states. Dorothy advanced the recording again. Tony's voice, I've already moved $180,000 from his accounts. He hasn't noticed. Nancy confirmed the Cayman accounts have $220,000 waiting. My mind raced, calculating. $180,000 already stolen, $220,000 hidden offshore, plus the remaining $450,000 they plan to take after the wedding. The total matched their $850,000 figure exactly. I thought about all the business expenses I'd approved without question over the past year. Tony's client development trips to Miami and Boston. Conference registrations for events that sounded legitimate. Consulting fees for companies I'd never heard of but trusted Tony's judgment on. Every signature I'd provided had been another step in my own destruction. Dorothy played another section where Tony was manipulating Rachel with surgical precision. Your mother would want you to be taken care of. His voice was gentle, persuasive. Another clip, your father has more money than he could ever spend. And another, we're not hurting him, just redistributing wealth that should have been ours years ago. Rachel's voice, weak and uncertain. I just want to feel secure. Tony, smooth and controlling. Then trust me. This is how we get there. I could see the pattern now. Tony had identified Rachel's vulnerabilities after Patricia's death. Her grief, her fear of being alone, her worry about financial security, and exploited every one of them. He'd positioned himself as her protector, while making me seem like the obstacle to her happiness. "What will you do?" Dorothy asked after the recording ended. My first instinct was to call the police immediately. But as I sat there thinking, a different plan began forming. If I arrested Tony now, Rachel would believe he was the victim, that I was a bitter old man destroying her chance at happiness. She'd defend him, possibly perjure herself trying to protect him. But if I could expose him publicly, with undeniable evidence, in front of everyone he'd lied to, she'd have no choice but to face reality. "I'm going to let the wedding proceed," I said finally. Dorothy's eyes widened. "That's incredibly dangerous. If Tony suspects, he won't suspect. I'm going to be the perfect oblivious father for the next 3 weeks. Meanwhile, I'll gather more evidence and build an airtight case." I pulled out my phone. "Do you know any private investigators?" Dorothy nodded slowly. "Gary Coleman, former FBI, very thorough and discreet." Within an hour, I was sitting in Gary Coleman's downtown office. He was exactly what I'd hoped for. Mid-50s, sharp-eyed, with the bearing of someone who'd seen humanity's worst, but hadn't let it break him. I played the recordings and watched his expression grow grimmer with each revelation. "Mr. Morrison, this isn't amateur hour. Your son has done this before, probably multiple times. We're looking at federal charges: wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy, attempted murder." Gary pulled out a legal pad and started making notes. "We'll need to move fast but carefully. If Tony gets spooked, he'll run, and you'll never see that money again. What do you need from me? Complete cooperation and perfect acting. For the next 3 weeks, you're the loving, trusting father who suspects nothing. Can you do that?" I thought about Tony's smug voice discussing my imprisonment, Rachel's tears as she agreed to betray me, the casual way he'd mentioned cutting my brake lines. "Yes," I said, "I can do that." Gary worked fast. Within 48 hours, he confirmed Kevin Foster was indeed Kevin Mitchell, a Miami actor with a criminal record for fraud and impersonation. Bank records showed Tony had paid him $25,000 in 2 installments, disguised as consulting fees through one of the shell companies I'd unknowingly approved. More damaging was Gary's discovery about Dr. Stevens. The psychiatrist had received $20,000 to provide a fake mental competency evaluation. Gary found 2 other cases where Stevens had been paid to declare elderly patients incompetent, both overturned in court when family members fought back. "Your son's not working alone," Gary explained during our second meeting. "This is an organized operation. Nancy Wright was disbarred in Massachusetts for client fund misappropriation. She's been operating as an illegal consultant for people running financial scams. But the breakthrough came when Gary located Margaret Taylor in Boston. "Mr. Morrison," her voice was steady over the phone, "my name is Margaret Taylor. Gary Coleman told me you're investigating Tony Morrison. I want to help because he destroyed my life too." She told me her story. 2 years ago, she'd met a charming young man named Matthew Reed at a charity gala. She'd just lost her husband to cancer 6 months earlier. Matthew was attentive, understanding, seemed to know exactly what she needed to hear. We dated for 4 months. He proposed. I was grateful to feel alive again. He said he was starting a consulting business, needed investment capital. Over 3 months, I transferred $400,000 to accounts he controlled. My stomach turned. The pattern was identical. Then 2 days before our wedding, he vanished. Phone disconnected, apartment cleared. Out. Matthew Reed didn't exist. Margaret agreed to attend Tony's wedding to confront him publicly. I've waited 2 years for a chance to see that bastard face consequences. Meanwhile, I had to become an actor myself. For 3 weeks I smiled over breakfast, discussed wedding flowers at lunch, and reviewed evidence that would destroy my family at night. The hardest part was looking at Tony across the dinner table, knowing he'd tried to kill me, and maintaining normal conversation. He'd ask about work, I'd share updates about client projects, he'd mention wedding details, I'd express enthusiasm about walking Rachel down the aisle. "Dad, you seem tired lately," Rachel said one evening, genuine concern in her voice. It broke my heart that some part of her still loved me, even while planning my destruction. "Just wedding excitement, honey. Lots on my mind." Tony jumped in smoothly. "That's why I scheduled that appointment with Dr. Stevens for Friday. We want you in top form for the big day." The Ask questions designed to make me appear to be confused. He was framing his trap as concerned care for my health. I met with Dr. Stevens that Friday, playing the role of a confused old man losing his memory. He asked questions designed to make me appear incompetent. "Mr. Morrison, what year is it?" I hesitated deliberately. 2023, or is it 2024? Who's the current president? Obama's still president, isn't he? Stevens made notes, his expression grave with false concern. I could practically see him calculating his $20,000 fee. After the appointment, Tony presented power of attorney documents. "Just routine paperwork, Dad, to make things easier after the wedding, when Rachel and I are on our honeymoon." I pretended to read them carefully. Every clause was designed to strip me of control, access to accounts, authority to make financial decisions, everything. "These are pretty comprehensive, Tony. Let me have my lawyer look them over first." A flash of irritation crossed his face. "Dad, we don't have time for that. The wedding's in a week. Just a quick review," I said, keeping my voice mild. "You understand, right?" "Big decision," Tony forced a smile. "Of course. Families should be careful with important documents." The irony was staggering. He was lecturing me about family while planning to rob me blind. That weekend, Gary provided the final pieces of evidence. Financial forensics showed Tony had been stealing systematically for 18 months, not just the past year. Small amounts at first, $5,000 here, $10,000 there, gradually increasing as he gained confidence. "He's been testing your attention to detail," Gary explained. "When you didn't notice the small thefts, he got bolder. The offshore accounts were more sophisticated than I'd imagined. Money flowed through 3 shell companies, then to accounts in the Cayman Islands, then to a final destination in Singapore. If the wedding had proceeded, Tony would have been untraceable within 48 hours. Gary also discovered Tony's escape plan. One-way ticket to Grand, Cayman departing 2 days after the wedding. Then connections to Bangkok under a false identity. What about Rachel? Gary's expression was grim. No ticket for her. He was planning to abandon your daughter immediately after the wedding, leaving her to face federal charges alone. I stared at the airline reservation. Rachel had no idea she was being set up as the fall guy while Tony disappeared with both the money and Nancy Wright, who also had a ticket under a matching false identity. My daughter thought she was protecting her future with her brother. In reality, she was signing her own prison sentence while he planned to vanish forever. Gary coordinated with FBI agent Lisa Anderson, who'd been building a case against Tony for interstate fraud. "We have enough evidence to arrest him now," she explained during our final meeting. "But, Mr. Morrison, if you want to proceed with the wedding day plan, we can position agents throughout the venue." "I want him exposed publicly," I said firmly. "Rachel needs to see who he really is, not just hear it from prosecutors later." Agent Anderson nodded. "Wedding morning, we'll freeze the Cayman accounts. The moment Tony tries to access them after the ceremony, he'll get error messages. He'll be trapped." Saturday morning arrived, wedding day. I woke at 6 a.m. and practiced my smile in the bathroom mirror. In a few hours, I would either save my daughter or lose her forever. The church was already filling with guests when I arrived. 300 people dressed in wedding finery, everyone excited and happy. FBI agents positioned throughout the crowd looked like ordinary wedding guests. Margaret Taylor sat in the back row, elegant in navy blue, waiting for her moment of justice. Rachel looked breathtaking in her wedding dress, exactly like Patricia on our wedding day. In the bridal suite, she turned to me with tears glistening. "Dad, do I look okay?" I took her hands. "You look exactly like your mother, beautiful, perfect. I wish she could be here. Today, no matter what you see or hear, no matter what you see or hear, I love you more than anything in this world. That will never change." She pulled back, confusion crossing her face. "Dad, you're scaring me." "What's wrong?" The wedding coordinator knocked. "It's time." The processional music swelled. Rachel took my arm, and we began walking down the aisle toward Tony and Kevin at the altar. 300 faces turned toward us, smiling, some dabbing at tears. They saw a father walking his daughter toward happiness. I was walking her toward the truth. Tony's eyes met mine across the distance. For the first time since this began, I saw genuine fear in his expression. Something in my demeanor must have changed. The mask was slipping. We reached the altar. The minister smiled warmly. Who gives this woman to be married instead of the old traditional response? I said clearly, loudly. I do not. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Rachel turned to me, pale. Dad, what? Tony stepped forward, voice strained but controlled. Vince, what are you doing? This isn't the time for jokes. I faced the congregation, pulling documents from my jacket. This isn't a joke, Tony. This is justice. My voice carried through the sanctuary. 3 weeks ago, I discovered my son and daughter have been conspiring to steal my fortune, declare me mentally incompetent, and imprison me in a nursing home. This wedding is a fraud designed to access family trust funds. Gasps erupted throughout the church. Tony's mask finally cracked completely. Dad, you're having some kind of episode. This is exactly what Dr. Stevens warned us about. I pulled out the USB drive. I have recordings, Tony. 47 minutes of you and Rachel discussing every detail of your plan. Your fake marriage to Kevin Foster here, who is actually actor Kevin Mitchell, hired for $25,000. Kevin's shoulders sagged in defeat. It's true, I'm an actor. It was supposed to be just a job. I have forensic accounting reports, I continued, showing you've stolen $850,000 over 18 months. I have evidence you cut my brake lines 6 months ago, attempting to murder me. I have proof Dr. Stevens was paid $20,000 to falsify a mental competency evaluation. The church erupted in chaos, people shouting, crying, trying to process the revelations. Tony's face had gone from pale to crimson. You're insane! Rachel, tell them your father is losing his mind. A voice from the back cut through the noise. Mr. Morrison isn't insane. I can testify to that. Margaret Taylor walked down the aisle with quiet dignity. Tony went sheet white. My name is Margaret Taylor. 2 years ago, I met a man named Matthew Reed in Boston. He courted me, proposed to me, and stole $400,000 from me. Then he vanished 2 days before our wedding. She looked directly at Tony. Matthew Reed and Tony Morrison are the same person. I panicked. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony, we need to leave, now. Her face was pale. She was shaking. "Tony, we need to leave. Now." Her face was pale. She was shaking. Tony panicked. "Tony, we need to leave. Now." Her words were an admission of complicity. Rachel made a sound like a wounded animal. She turned to Tony, understanding finally breaking through. "You were never going to marry me. This was all fake." Tony reached for her, but she stumbled backward. "You used me. You lied to me about everything." FBI. Agent Lisa Anderson stepped forward, credentials raised. "Tony Morrison, Nancy Wright, Kevin Mitchell, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, money laundering, and attempted murder." Handcuffs snapped around Tony's wrists. "All pretense gone," he screamed. "You can't do this! I'm your son!" I crouched beside Rachel, who had collapsed in her white dress. "I'm sorry, baby, but you're safe now." Agent Anderson showed Rachel photographs on her tablet. Tony and Nancy kissing, entering hotels together, looking like lovers planning their escape. Rachel stared at the images in devastation. For how long? "At least 18 months, Anderson explained. They planned to leave together 2 days after the wedding. You were never part of their escape plan. You were the scapegoat." Rachel looked at Tony being led away. Their eyes met one final time. "Tell me it's not true," she whispered. "Tell me some part of this was real." Tony's response destroyed whatever remained of her illusions. "You were useful, Rachel. That's what you were. Did you really think I loved you? You made it so easy." Agent Anderson offered Rachel a cooperation deal. Full cooperation, testify against Tony, and you get probation instead of prison. Rachel didn't hesitate. "I'll cooperate. I'll tell you everything. I want Tony to pay for what he's done." The aftermath unfolded exactly as planned. Tony faced 15 federal charges, receiving 18 years in federal prison. Nancy got 12 years. Dr. Stevens received 8 years and lost his medical license. Permanently. We recovered 85% of the stolen money. But the real victory wasn't financial. It was saving Rachel's life. During the investigation, we learned Tony had researched methods to stage accidents for people who became inconvenient. My daughter would have been next. Rachel kept her cooperation deal. 3 years probation, 500 hours community service, mandatory therapy. The guilt in her eyes was punishment enough. We're rebuilding slowly. Dinner twice a week, careful conversations where we both try to find our way back to being father and daughter. Trust takes time to heal, but love endures. Sometimes protecting the people you love means destroying the world they think they want. It's a terrible choice, but it's the choice that saves lives. Don't ignore the red flags. Act before it's too late. Because once wolves get inside your home, removing them costs everything, but letting them stay costs more. Sometimes protecting the people you love means making the hardest choice of your life, watching their world crumble so they can survive what's coming next. The most dangerous predators aren't strangers in dark alleys. They're the ones who know exactly which emotional buttons to push because they've been watching you for years, learning your weaknesses, and calling it family.